When you think first aid, you're probably thinking of responding to physical injuries. But Northern Light Acadia Hospital has been training organizations all over the state in psychological first aid.
Grace Bradley has the story.
Psychological first aid is a mental health awareness training that can be used in the aftermath of disasters, mental health crisis. We talk about how a person might react to a stressful situation, disaster situation, trauma situation, and what is actually happening inside their body that causes that reaction and how individuals can respond to that. Anything from active listening to gathering information. We end with talking about self-care, because you really cannot help somebody else if you're not taking care of yourself as well.
These PFA trainings are part of a 5-year grant at Northern Light Acadia Hospital. Specialists travel all across the state to train organizations and individuals on how to respond to injuries you can't see. On Friday, they visited Home Inc. in Orland, a basic needs nonprofit that includes a food pantry, homeless shelter for families, and more.
So we're trying to not only get them into their home, but also treat their mind and spirit, because being homeless sucks, and it's really hard not to have your own space. And so trying to create more spaces where they can feel comfortable is our goal. A lot of the training is work we do every day because we work with people in crisis, but this, I think, gave us some reinforcement on what we're doing right and some ideas on extra resources. I think it's going to give everybody here more confidence. Okay, I have confidence that we can help you get through this, and if you're confident about that, they're going to be like, okay, this person's really going to help me.
We know, especially since the pandemic, that people are having increased mental health issues. Kids especially, there's a mental health crisis in our state, so this is giving people kind of that baseline language to use and steps to use to help connect individuals to the resources that they need and to provide support and build resiliency.
Grace Bradley, WABI TV5 News, Orland.